In the annals of American television, few names evoke such an immediate response and deep respect as Johnny Carson. For an unprecedented 3 decades, from the autumn of 1962 to the spring of 1992, he was not merely a host, but the unchallenged, indisputable king of late night. Every evening, as the stars twinkled in the night sky, Carson lit up the screens of millions of homes, transforming their living rooms into a personal theater of humor, interviews, and unpredictable moments. His program, The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson, became far more than just a late-night talk show. It evolved into a profound cultural phenomenon that shaped not only the nation's entertainment tastes, but also public sentiment, influenced political discussions, and catapulted unknown artists to stardom. Before we get started, please consider liking and subscribing. Your support is greatly appreciated. Johnny Carson's journey to national icon status was gradual but relentless. Born in Corning, Iowa, and raised in the small town of Norfolk, Nebraska, young Johnny showed an early aptitude for performance. His first passion was magic, and he performed at local events, honing his ability to command an audience's attention. This early practice likely laid the groundwork for his future mastery as a showman. After serving in the Navy during World War II, Carson began his media career, first on radio stations in Nebraska, and then transitioning to television. He quickly moved from local programs to more significant projects, hosting game shows and comedy programs like Who Do You Trust? His natural charm, quick wit, and unique sense of humor made him the ideal candidate to host The Tonight Show when its previous host, Jack Paar, decided to depart. This was a pivotal moment that would forever alter the television landscape. Carson's arrival at The Tonight Show didn't just replace a predecessor, he redefined the very format of the late-night talk show. He brought with him an atmosphere of calm yet sharp intellect that set him apart. His signature style was a blend of irony, wit, and an extraordinary capacity for improvisation. He could be simultaneously an elegant gentleman and a comedian who wasn't afraid to poke fun at himself. Key elements of his unparalleled success included: every episode opened with Carson's monologue, which became a nightly ritual for millions. It was a daily commentary on current events, politics, and the absurdities of everyday life, delivered with an unparalleled sense of timing and satirical brilliance. His jokes often became the leading topics of conversation the next morning, demonstrating his direct influence on American culture. He possessed a unique ability to take complex or even troubling subjects and turn them into a source of laughter, helping the nation collectively process the news of the day. Carson was a masterful interviewer. He didn't just ask questions, he listened. His ability to create a comfortable atmosphere where guests felt relaxed and could truly be themselves was legendary. He could elicit incredible stories from the most guarded celebrities and reveal compelling insights from the lesser known, turning them into overnight sensations. An appearance on The Tonight Show was not just a promotional stop, but a true baptism by fire, and at the same time, a seal of approval in the entertainment world. For countless artists, comedians, and musicians, performing for Carson was a dream that meant a ticket to the big stage. The show was rich with memorable comedy sketches and unforgettable characters, often played by Carson himself. From the playful Karnak the Magnificent, who magically divined answers, to the quirky Aunt Blabby, who entertained with her often unsolicited opinions. These characters allowed Carson to showcase his wide acting range and added an element of farce that lightened the seriousness of some interviews. They helped maintain the light-hearted and entertaining atmosphere that was the show's hallmark, proving his versatility beyond just witty banter. The Tonight Show was also an incredibly vital platform for musicians. Many young, then unknown artists received their first big break, performing on national television thanks to Carson. His love for jazz and music in general was evident in the frequent appearances of renowned musicians, enriching the program's cultural content and offering a diverse range of entertainment to his audience. It was this masterfully balanced blend of humor, intellect, interviews, and music that transformed The Tonight Show into an indispensable part of American culture. Johnny Carson was not just a host, he was a trusted confidant, a national friend who dropped into your living room every night, bringing laughter, lightness, and, at times, profound reflection. His influence on comedy, the evolution of the talk show format, and the broader television landscape is still felt today, cementing his legacy as a true legend. In today's world, where television programs are largely pre-recorded, edited, and post-produced with microscopic precision, it's challenging to fully grasp the realities of television broadcasting in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. Johnny Carson and The Tonight Show operated in an era where live broadcasting was the norm, not the exception. This created a unique, unparalleled pressure on the host, the entire production crew, and the guests alike. The absence of the ability to stop recording, re-edit a segment, or cut out an awkward moment meant that every second of the show mattered. Any mistake by the host, any unexpected remark from a guest, any technical glitch, or even a cough from the audience, all of it was broadcast simultaneously to millions of homes. This demanded from the host not only impeccable diction and charisma, but also lightning-fast reactions, the ability to improvise on the fly, and the masterful skill to navigate any situation, no matter how unexpected. For Johnny Carson, who built his fame on his ability to deliver spontaneous humor and turn unforeseen circumstances into comedic gold, the relentlessness of live television was both a constant challenge and his greatest competitive advantage. He could skillfully turn an unexpected silence, a microphone malfunction, or even a prolonged burst of audience laughter into an additional joke, highlighting his unparalleled control over the show and impressing viewers with his quick wit. This created a sense of authenticity and unpredictability that drew audiences in. Viewers knew that every night they might witness something truly unique, something that couldn't be found in any other rehearsed program. The pressure of live television also extended to the guests. They couldn't count on a second chance, a do-over for an awkward word or a botched joke. This pushed them to be as natural as possible, meaning that sometimes genuine, unscripted emotions would surface on screen. Nervousness, confusion, or, as was the case with some eccentric guests, excessive self-confidence. It was these unexpected human moments that often became the most vivid and discussed segments of the show, proving that even with careful planning, live television always held an element of the unknown. Beyond the technical aspects, it's crucial to understand the cultural context and media standards of that era. What was considered acceptable or even witty on television in the 1960s or 70s might, today, in the age of social media and heightened sensitivity to various forms of discrimination or aggression, provoke a storm of outrage and lead to cancel culture. While censorship on American television did exist, e.g., prohibitions on certain words or the display of certain topics, its nature differed from contemporary standards. There was a greater scope for spontaneity and, at times, for more edgy interactions. Johnny Carson, being a master of subtle humor, rarely resorted to outright vulgarity or aggression. His comedy was built on intelligence, keen observation, and the ability to find the humorous in everyday life. However, in interactions with certain guests, who themselves were known for their eccentricity, unpredictability, or even provocativeness, such as animal trainers who brought wild beasts into the studio, the boundaries of what was permissible naturally expanded. Audiences tuning into The Tonight Show often expected Carson to handle such unusual guests, using his sharp wit and irony. It was in these moments, at the intersection of pure improvisation, comedy, and the unpredictability of live broadcasting, that situations sometimes arose which later became subjects of discussion, retelling, and even urban legends, balancing on the fine line between entertainment and a real, albeit slight, display of irritation. Carson wasn't just a host, he was the conductor of a vast orchestra, where every instrument, every guest, every line had to harmoniously blend into the overall melody of the show. Sometimes, to maintain this harmony, or simply to react to genuine discomfort, he had to make sharp, unexpected movements, which, however, were almost always driven by the desire to keep the pace, elicit laughter, and engage millions of viewers. Among the thousands of Tonight Show episodes, brimming with laughter, music, and unforgettable conversations, there are select moments that stand out for their absolute unpredictability and subsequently become part of television mythology. One such episode, which has been the subject of numerous retellings and discussions, occurred during Johnny Carson's encounter with the legendary animal trainer Carl Miller. Carl Miller was not just an animal trainer, he was a genuine star, renowned for his unique and often daring acts with wild beasts. His ability to work with lions, tigers, bears, and other potentially dangerous animals, making them behave almost like domestic pets, was astonishing. Miller was a frequent and welcome guest on various talk shows where he showcased his exotic charges. His appearances on The Tonight Show were always special events, anticipated by both the public and Carson himself, though the latter often displayed theatrical nervousness. Miller had a habit of bringing not just dogs or cats to the studio, but genuine large predators, young lions, bear cubs, massive snakes. His style was audacious and unpredictable. He often allowed the animals to move freely around the stage and sometimes even actively interact with Carson, which invariably elicited a wide range of emotions from the host, who was known for his comedic portrayal of fear of animals, from theatrical dread to genuine laughter. This dynamic of Carson's fear of Miller's animals was an integral and expected part of their joint performances and always a reliable source of comedy, tension, and entertainment. It was on one such evening, October 9th, 1974, that Carl Miller appeared in The Tonight Show studio with another exotic surprise that promised to keep the audience on edge. This time, it was an unusual animal he introduced as a hybrid, something between a bear and a dog. It was a rather large, furry creature that seemed very energetic and perhaps a bit restless in the unfamiliar studio environment. From the very beginning of the segment, the atmosphere was tense, yet typical for Carson's encounters with Miller. Johnny, with his signature facial expressions, showing a mix of apprehension and irony, tried to maintain control of the situation. He asked Miller questions, made witty comments about the beast's behavior, but it was clear that this particular animal made him feel significantly more uncomfortable than usual. It was noticeable that Johnny was more cautious and kept a greater distance than with some of the other animals Miller had brought. Miller, in turn, seemed to intentionally heighten this tension, allowing the animal to approach the host and sometimes even pushing the creature toward Carson, as if inviting it to a closer interaction. The climactic moment arrived when the animal perhaps unexpectedly lunged towards Carson again, or perhaps Miller, too, persistently tried to make the animal interact with the host, crossing Carson's comfort zone. Johnny Carson, who until this point had maintained his comedic grimace, masking his true growing irritation, suddenly and sharply waved his hand in the direction of Carl Miller. It was a quick, almost instinctive movement, resembling a light push or a mock swat at Miller's hand, which might have still been near the animal or trying to control it. The movement was so sudden and unexpected that, for a moment, silence fell over the studio. This momentary pause was quickly broken by a mix of surprised exclamations and nervous laughter from the audience, who didn't immediately understand whether it was part of a planned joke or a genuine reaction. It's crucial to emphasize that this was not a punch in the usual sense of the word, intended to cause harm. There was no visible force or aggression. It was more of an expression of irritation, an emotional shooing away, or a comedic gesture that, this time, went beyond the usual accustomed interaction. It was a moment where the comedic script suddenly collided with Carson's thinly veiled real discomfort and irritation, creating an unforgettable episode that left viewers wondering, was this just another joke, or had Johnny Carson genuinely lost his temper, if only for a split second? This moment brightly illustrated the tension of live broadcasting, where even seasoned masters of improvisation sometimes let unexpected reactions slip. The incident involving Carl Miller, though a swift and seemingly minor gesture, could not go unnoticed during a live broadcast on national television. How was it received, and what implications did it have for those involved and the show's reputation? The very instant Johnny Carson made that sharp push-like motion, a brief but palpable silence fell over the studio. However, it quickly gave way to the characteristic laughter of the show, a mix of surprise, amusement, and perhaps a touch of nervousness. The audience present in the studio was well accustomed to unpredictable moments during Carl Miller's animal segments. They had witnessed Johnny's theatrical expressions of fear and his genuine flinching from the beasts numerous times before. Therefore, most interpreted this gesture as just another element of the comedic spectacle, perhaps a bit more emotionally charged than usual, but still within the expected bounds of their on-screen dynamic. Carl Miller himself, known for his stoic composure in the presence of wild animals, showed no signs of offense or surprise. He merely smiled, as if acknowledging that this was part of their unique, unspoken routine. His reaction, or rather, his lack thereof, played a crucial role in preventing the incident from escalating into a full-blown live television scandal. Had Miller shown visible displeasure or reacted with anger, the situation could have unfolded in a completely different, potentially disastrous manner, forever altering the perception of that moment. In the days following the broadcast, the incident naturally became a topic of discussion. However, surprisingly, it did not spark widespread condemnation or outrage in the national press. October 1974 was a tumultuous time. The United States was still grappling with the profound fallout from the Watergate scandal, while economic woes and global political events dominated newspaper headlines. Against this backdrop, a light push from a beloved television host during a live segment simply did not register as something warranting extensive investigation or heated public debate. Most media commentators, if they mentioned the moment at all, interpreted it as a comedic reaction from Johnny Carson. Some observers noted that it was a glimpse into his real irritation, which only added to the show's vibrancy as viewers appreciated authenticity in live broadcasts. There were no official statements from NBC, no public apologies from Carson, as he likely didn't believe he had done anything inappropriate within the context of his routine with Miller, and no public complaints from Carl Miller himself. The incident seemed to quickly fade into the background noise of daily television. This outcome underscored two critical points. Firstly, it highlighted Johnny Carson's undisputed authority and immense popularity within the television world. His reputation was so strong and his show so universally adored that such moments were easily forgiven or interpreted in his favor. His charisma acted as a shield, deflecting potential criticism. Secondly, it revealed the nature of a different era of television, where standards were less rigid and the concept of political correctness had not yet achieved its pervasive influence. At that time, spontaneity and the ability to entertain, even if it involved slightly edgier or unpredictable interactions, were more highly valued than strict adherence to modern codes of conduct. The public's appetite for raw, unscripted moments was far greater, making allowances for the occasional slip or an unexpected display of emotion. The Carl Miller incident, while largely unnoticed by the general public at the time, serves as a fascinating case study for analyzing the evolution of television and the intricate dynamics between hosts and guests. It raises pertinent questions about where the line between humor and aggression truly lies, and what constitutes the responsibility of a media personality in a live broadcast setting. In Johnny Carson's case, most experts agree that his reaction was primarily a comedic improvisation, stemming from his on-stage persona as the apprehensive host dealing with wild animals. This persona was a significant part of his appeal and engaged viewers who reveled in his struggles with the creatures. However, even within comedy, there is a fine line. Psychologists and communication experts might point out that even if the intent was humorous, the gesture itself, especially in the context of controlling an animal, could appear ambiguous. It was a moment where Carson's acting almost merged with his genuine emotions, perhaps a fleeting irritation at the uncontrollable nature of the situation, or Miller's excessive persistence. In this context, understanding the role of improvisation is crucial. Carson was a master of improvisation, which allowed him to react to any unforeseen event with quick wit and aplomb. However, improvisation, by its very nature, cannot always be absolutely controlled. At times, it can lead to actions that are perceived as provocative or even aggressive, even if the underlying intent was different. The raw, unfiltered nature of live TV meant that these spontaneous reactions, regardless of their comedic intent, were seen by millions, leaving room for varied interpretations. The beauty of Carson's skill was his ability to navigate this tightrope, but even the best tightrope walkers can sometimes sway a little too far. Thus, the Carl Miller incident, while a minor blip in Carson's illustrious career, illustrates how dramatically the rules of the game have changed in television. Along with these changes, the responsibility of those in the public eye has grown immensely. What was once brushed off as a quirky moment now carries significant weight, underscoring the constant need for awareness and sensitivity in public interactions. Ultimately, specific hot moments like the incident with Carl Miller rarely defined Johnny Carson's career. Instead, they tended to be woven into the fabric of his long-standing success as mere anecdotes or parts of The Tonight Show folklore, rather than serious blemishes on his reputation. Johnny Carson was too monumental and too beloved a figure for one, albeit slightly awkward, moment to overshadow his immense legacy. His contribution to American culture and television is colossal and enduring. He wasn't merely an entertainer. He served as a barometer of societal moods, a consistent source of comfort and laughter for millions of Americans every night. His The Tonight Show famously launched the careers of countless comedians, from Jerry Seinfeld and Jay Leno to Ellen DeGeneres, actors and musicians. He was a master interviewer, capable of drawing out the most fascinating stories from celebrities and revealing their true essence, often making them feel like they were just chatting with a friend. The Miller incident if it's even remembered by a small segment of the public, is viewed through the lens of a genuine human reaction, a fleeting moment of irritation that briefly pierced through his professional composure. For Carson's devoted fans, this only added to his humanity, showing that even the king could occasionally lose his cool, albeit in a comically understated fashion. This isolated episode certainly did not alter the public's perception of Carson as the elegant, intelligent, and impeccably polite gentleman he always remained in the eyes of his vast audience. His persona was so ingrained and so trusted that minor deviations were readily absorbed and interpreted in a favorable light. These isolated, unpredictable moments that occurred during The Tonight Show's live broadcasts only underscore the unique charm and magic of that particular television era. They remind us of a time when television was more spontaneous, less polished, but consequently more alive and utterly captivating. Every single night had the potential to bring something entirely new, something completely unscripted, and it was precisely this unpredictability that was a fundamental part of Carson's allure. This raw authenticity, the sense that anything could happen, forged a deeper connection with the audience than today's meticulously produced shows often manage. Johnny Carson left behind a legacy not merely of a show, but of an entire era. His profound influence on the talk show format, on the evolution of stand-up comedy, and on the very concept of late-night television is undeniable and continues to shape the industry. Minor incidents, such as the one with Carl Miller, merely add colorful brushstrokes to this monumental portrait, making the story of the King of Late Night even more multifaceted and endlessly fascinating. Thank you so much to everyone who watched to the end. Your likes and subscriptions are incredibly valuable. And be sure to hit the bell so you never miss new videos and stay updated.